This is Gemara Baba Kama Daf Kof Tes Zayin Baruch Hashem. The final four daf I should say, of this incredible Masechta B'siyata Dishmaya. And we're holding on Kuf Tes Vavam Beis. We pulled up a little bit short in the previous year as we're in the middle of discussing what exactly is going to be the case in which one is allowed to use uncovered wine or wine with a barrel with a crack as designating as Shumas Meiser. This began from the discussion of the Mishnah that if one sees his friend's barrel break and he wants to empty out his own barrel to save his friend's barrel, at what point that is allowed. But what we're in the middle of discussing is that the Gemara answered that even if wine is left uncovered, you're still allowed to use it as Trumas Meiser for the simple reason is, what is the issue with uncovered wine? Is Giloy, is that a snake might have come and put its venom inside the wine. But said the Gemara, if you put it through a strainer, then you can remove all the venom that's going to float, and it'll all be good. Now asks the Gemara, Lav Itmar Allah, do we not learn on this? We're about 20 lines on the bottom. First word in line is Bime Kaimai. Ask the Gemara, did we not learn regarding straining the wine? Amar Rav Simayin, Amar Rav Shua ben Levi lo shanu el shalai. Tarkai. This halacha you could strain the wine is only if it was not mixed. Aval tarkai aser. So the kasha is, in our case, if there's a barrel sitting open, in order to get the barrel to pour it through the strainer, you're going to have to pick it up. And at some level, it's going to mix. And therefore, it should be forbidden. Because we're assuming that when the wine and the venom becomes thoroughly mixed, no longer will pouring it through be able to strain it. Answers the Gemara, no, you could place something in the opening of the barrel. You put a cloth over the barrel and you slowly pour it through without actually shaking up the barrel. Says the Gemara, Ram Nechemia mitar minan. Is Ram Nechemia an opinion who says that when we have something tamei, skipped the word over there, and pour it through. Ram Nechemia asked the Gemara, mitar minan, does he allow you to take chuma from one item that is tamei to another item that is tamei v'tanya? But we learned in a brayso, tarmi min atame ela tamei min atar. Tarmi min atame ela tamei min atar alatar alatam min atar alatamei, and as well from tar it's that which is tamei. Aval loy min atame alatar. And Rav Nechemia Omer, and this of course is what we need as you're in the middle of answering in the sheet of Rav Nechemia. Says Rav Nechemia, Vinatame alatame loy hitiru litroim elo b'shel demai. So as the Gemara we see explicitly Rav Nechemia does not allow such only for demai. Says the Gemara, Achanami, the case referred to is b'shel demai. And that really wraps up the end of the discussion of the previous shir. Continues the Gemara. Now let's delve a drop deeper into that which we just said. Amar Mar ubishamen lo yaseh kain minei hefsid kain. We said at the end of the brayso that if you have barrels of oil, you're not able to take a broken barrel of oil and say it should be chumas meiser for the other barrels of oil. Why? Because the kain is going to lose out, and he's not going to actually get his chumas meiser. Says the Gemara, Maishna Shemin Maishna Shemin. Why is Shemin any different? It's the same thing in all the cases. The kain is going to lose in these cases. Says the Gemara, you know why? Derayu lahadlik. Because Shemin could be used to light. That's how they had lamps. Ask the Gemara, Yainami Roy Lazilov. What do you mean? Wine as well also could be used lazilov to sprinkle in the house for a good smell and whatnot. Even if you're going to tell me zilov, they'll see zilov is nothing. So in drinks from wine that cost a lug per sela, and he sprinkles from wine that cost 2 slayim per lug. So what do we see? We see just from the way the brayso is speaking that zilov has a real value. Answers the Gemara, 3 lines from the white lines. Hacha b'mayaskinan. What are we referring to over here? B'chadash. Referring to new wine. New wine that is new wine before it is aged is not fit for ziluf, because the whole ziluf process, you're sprinkling wine, is the aromatic qualities of the wine, which says the Gemara only with aged wine, not with new wine. Says Gemara, okay, so take the wine, let it age, keep it around, and then do ziluf. Answers the Gemara, also by lidei takala, you're going to come to takala. If you keep wine for such a prolonged period of time, you might mix up that which is tamei, that which is tar, etc. Says the Gemara, Shkoyach, Sheminam, you have the same problem. Also, lidei takala. Answers the Gemara, Demali B'kli Naos, you put the Monach B'kli Maos, you put the Shemin in a Echikli, and therefore you're not going to come to use it. Ask the Gemara, okay, so Yayinami, do the same thing. Monach Le B'kli Maos. Answers the Gemara, Ash Lazil of Kabayi B'kli Manos, Kamanach. If you're using it for sprinkling, you never put it in a Kli Maos, because the whole usage of wine for sprinkling is the good quality, is the good fragrance of the wine. And if you were going to put the wine in a ichi barrel, it would ruin the wine from its aromatic and fragrant qualities. Meaning when it came to the oil that's for lit, apparently when it comes to lighting, it makes no difference whether the oil is sitting in clean or not, but for ziluf, it does. Says the Gemara, but the last line of Kuftes Vavam Abayz asks the Gemara. You just said that when it comes to Shemen, the concern was asli de takala by wine, yain. But Shemen we said because you put into a barrel. That's malos, therefore you won't come to use it. But says the Gemara, takala atzma, this idea that we have to be worried that it might get ruined is a Tanahi, is a Machlekes Tanaim. The Tanaim learned to the Brayz Chav Shel Yain Shel Truma Shel Itmeis that became Tamei. Beishamai Yoimrim, as we turn over to Kuf Tezayin Amid Aleph, teaches Beishamai, what do you do with this entity that is Tamei Tish Baich? What do? You got to spill it. Tish Baich Hakol. You got to spill out everything. Why? As Rashi says, Kulam Biyachad. Why? Because we're afraid you're going to come to Takala if you keep it around. Beisel Imrin Ta says Zilov. Says Beisel, no. Use it for sprinkling and we're not worried. Amar Rabbi Yishmael Rabbi Yaisi Ani Achriya Bebaye Ani Echriya. I will be Machriya between these opinions. Bebaye says Zilov Ubisala Tishvachad Kol. If you're in your house, you could keep it for Zilov. But in the field, you should spill it out. You get the Amri, Biyashi Tasazilov, the old wine, Bachadish Tishbachakol, Amrlai in Achra Shlishis, Mecharaas. The Achra of Shlishis is not going to be Macharia, this Machlekes Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. We continue 6 lines down, Kufte Zayin and Aleph, quoting the Mishnah. As we mentioned, that this is really where everything starts. And if someone says, I'll pour out my barrel of wine to save your barrel of honey, but he says it to him explicitly, then he could collect for his wine that is lost. Says the Gemara, why can't the guy just say, I was joking. I never really intended you to pay. I never really intended to pay you for your wine. Milai Tanya, have we not learned in a braysa reishaya bayreach mibeisa asurim? If someone is running from a jail, vaisa mu'beres lefanav, and before him there not mu'beres. No, there was not a pregnant woman. There was a mabayres. There was a ferry in front of him. Amar Allah, he told dinner vavareni, and he said to the person on the boat, take a dinner. And help me cross over the river. What's the halacha? Does he actually have to pay for the dinar? Ein lo yalaschara, you only pay his schar, which is significantly less. Alma, amrle mashatani bach. What do we see? We see that he could say mashatani bach. I was joking with you. So why in our case can't he say the same thing about the wine? Says the Gemara, Chanami, why can't you tell me I was joking? Explains the Gemara, Ladami Ela Seifa, because our case is comparable to the Seif over there. What does the Sefer say? Ve'amar lo tell dinner zebischarcha ve'avireni. Not just take this dinner. If you said explicitly, take this dinner for your wages, then oslo scharai mishalim. Maishla reisha, maishla seifa. What is the difference? Amar Rav Mirchama b'tzayid. Amar Rami bar Chama b'tzayid ashoyle dagim b'nayam. The second case is where we have a guy fishing. V'amar le avsadatani kavri bezuza. Said, you caused me a loss worth azos. This is the amount I would have had during the time saving the person. So because there was a real loss, therefore you get back that what you said. So too in the Mishnah, when he said explicitly, I'll pay you for your loss. When he said explicitly, I'll pay you for your time. When he said explicitly, I'll pay you for your wine. If you save my honey, then you have to pay for such. And now we quote the next case, about 15 lines down. The two dashat of Nahar Chamaroi, V'Chamar Chaveiroi Shaloyafeh, Moneh V'Chulu. A seemingly almost identical case. The river is washing away his donkey and his friends. And we said in the Mishnah that what? The same exact thing. If he just goes and saves his friends, you can't collect. But if he says, I'm only going to do it to get back, then it's true. Then you will be able to. Says the Gemara, Usricha. And we need both cases. Why do we need both cases in the Mishnah? The reason is because if we only said kamais in the first case of the wine and the honey, over there, the reason, if he explained that you have to pay for everything, is why? Because with his own hands, he's pouring out his wine barrel, so you could understand that he's going to get back for that. The second case, the memela, where he's just saving the other guy's donkey. It's not explicit; it's more only implicit. Maybe get paid for your time, for your wages. And say, the second case, over there, I can understand that if they did not speak anything out, then in that case, the stam is that you just get paid for that which you did. Misha because it's only derech agav. It's only on the side of al-hasav the yudayim ema afilu bestama yavle demei kula sricha. Therefore, we need both cases. Continues the Gemara of 6 lines from the Y lines. Kuf tezayin amar ale boy minei Rav Kahana may Rav. Rav Kahana asks Rav the following shaila. Yara lahatzil va'ala shaloi me'elav mahu. What is the halacha? You go down to save, but what happens is, you go down to save the other guy's donkey, and lo and behold, your own donkey somehow saves itself. Mau, can you still say, hey, listen, I didn't go save mine, I saved yours, you have to pay me? Or do we say, no, listen, at the end of the day, you didn't lose anything? Amar lei, Mishamaya rechimi Allah, from heaven they shall have mercy on you. Mishamaya rechimu Allah, from heaven they had mercy on you, meaning Hashem saved your donkey. But of course, you still have a claim to the animal. Rav Safra was going on a caravan. A certain lion protects them the entire night from any animals. Every night they would give the lion a donkey and the chanminai of one of the people there, and the lion would eat the donkey, and that was the lion's food. And each day the lion would protect them. When the time of Rav Safra came for him to give his donkey as food for the lion, and guess what? The lion didn't eat it. Kadam Rav Safra v'zachav. Rav Safra went and took back his donkey. So what do we see? We see that just like Rav Safra was able to take back his donkey. Because why? Because Hashem made an ace that the lion wasn't hungry that night. So too in our case, if Hashem made an ace and saved your donkey, you still we have to collect back from the other guy. Amr le Rav Achami Defti. Said Rav Achami Defti le Ravina. Why What's the reason in that case that Rav Safra had to go and be mizaket, to be a koin's donkey? I understand that he was mafker his donkey to the lion. Adaite dari afkare. He only was mafker it. Al das, the lion will eat it. But he didn't stop making hefker. So if the lion didn't eat it, it's no longer the lion's and it should go back on its own. Why did he have to go and be kind in it? You're right. He just did this as an extra precaution. That's really how the Gemara ends. And the Gemara concludes that in the case of the donkey, you could indeed claim back the animal for your own donkey. Another shayla, 2 lines from the bottom. What if you went down to save your friend's donkey, but lamaisa you didn't? Do you still receive compensation at least for the time? Amar lai vizu sheila. Is this a question? Ein lai elas charai. The Mishnah says you get paid for the schar, and therefore, actually, you only get paid for your schar, but you do not get paid for your lost donkey. Esvei asked the Gemara, so who hires a worker, as we turn over to he hires a worker to bring krov, which is cabbage, or prunes to a sick person, and he found that the chayla died, or he got better, but lamaisa, he didn't need the food he brought him. You still have to pay whatever you agreed to pay him. So what do we see? We see that even if there's an eventuality that which you were trying to doesn't happen, but lamaisa, you still have to pay because that's what you agreed upon originally. Amar Le says, no, right, midami, hasab shliach shlichusa. Over there, what was the shlichus? Bring the food. He brought the food. It happens to be there was no chayla. But in our case, it's not even considered that he did his shlichus, therefore it's not necessarily a raya. Says the Gemara, Tana Rabbanon, Shayara Shaisa Malaches Bamidbar. 4 lines down, Kufta Zainam Beis by the 2 dots. Caravan which is going in the desert, V'amar Aleim Gaius L'Tarfa, and a Gaius and an army came against them to destroy them, but they spoke out with the army and they gave them a nice amount of money, a ransom instead. Mechashvin lefi ma'amain, they calculate how much everyone has to pay by the amount of money they're carrying. Vein mechashvin lefi nefashos, they don't do it by each person. I mean, not each person has to pay a set amount, but rather as much as each person brought with them, and that's what they were saved in ratio to that is that much that they have to give to pay for their ransom. And if they hired a guide, for that it goes by nefashos, it goes by how many people that are there. But says the Gemara, don't change from the minhag of the donkey drivers. Continues the Braisa. Rishayin hechmiru lehasnois. If they want, the donkey driver is able to stipulate shekol mi she'yaved lo yechamar, to stipulate that anyone who loses a donkey, then what will happen? Yam lechamar acher. They'll include an additional donkey. You know, like spare tires. You lose a tire, we'll replace it for you. Because they lost it through negligence, then they don't have to give him another one. Was it negligence? But if he says to new leave any eshmar, but if he says the one who lost the donkey said, give me a donkey, meaning give me money, vani eshmar, I will buy a donkey and then I will watch it with everything else. Ein Shaimin says Gemara Pshita. Of course, we don't listen to him. They don't have to give him the money. Says the Gemara, the case is where he has another donkey within the caravan. So either way, he's watching it. And therefore, what's he buying? Another second donkey for Kamash lunch. You can't equate watching one for watching 2. We continue at the two dots. Tanu Rabbanan, quoting a Bryce. If a Sfina, ship was traveling at sea, and a Nachshol, a wave, a tremendous wave, raised up, and it seemed like it was going to destroy the whole boat. L'taiva, to drown it, a kilo mimasa. So what do you do when your boat's going to drown? You start throwing things overseas. And then Baruch Hashem, they were saved. But the question is, how do we calculate this? Says the Gemara, we calculate it based on how much each person, their weight of themselves and their items. We don't do it based on their value. But don't change from the minhag, the general thing that the sapanim, the sailors do. And again, exactly mimicking the previous thing, the sapanim are able to stipulate that what of the loy bekusya. If it was negligence, not, but if not, yeah. But let's say they go to a place where ships don't generally go, and the boat is lost there, then mamidim, then, no, I skipped a line. V'i pirish l'makushe ein asfinais holchin, ein mamidim, then they don't have to give him a new boat. Pshita. Says Gemara, of course they don't have to reimburse him. Why? Because he was negligent. In Nissan, they say one rope's distance away for that place. So they did. It's a place that's not mamish dangerous, but depending on the time of year, was how much of the distance from that place, and they didn't distance appropriately. So I would have thought, I would have thought, says the Gemara, that he could have said that this is what I always did. This is my routine. That's why I went there. Kamash Malan. That you cannot do that, and therefore you're not going to get reimbursed. Tana Rabban continues the Gemara. Shayar Shayzam Alechet Bamidbar. Vamid Gayis Vitarfan destroyed. Vamid Achan Man Veitzil. The halacha is that which he saved is for everyone. They all can claim back the items that he saved from. This guy is from these troops. V'mamar and he says, no, I'm saving only for himself. Then if he could, everyone else could save, then of course they should split it. Then it should always go to himself. So what's this case that sometimes will go, that they'll share it, and sometimes they'll indeed go to himself? That the case is talking about, they're talking about shutfim, talking about partners, and the reason why they could lose the money is because one of the partners could just dissolve the partnership without asking his friend. So Amar Palig, if the guy who rescued the item says, I'll do it for myself, that's considered like he divided the and he dissolved the partnership, and therefore he keeps whatever he wants for his own. Loy Amar, Loy Palig, then it's not like he divided it, and therefore he will not keep it all on his own. Rav Amar Segim Sharach Bepayilim Askin Anu Kirav. Tamar Rav Payil Yachal Lachzer Boy Afilu Bechatzi Ayoim. A worker is always able to back out. And as long as he did not back out, then Kibir Shusei. As long as he did not back out, as if it's in his possession, the Balabayis, Tami of the Balabayis, Chiyadr Bay. And if he backed out, then Taimachrinu. There's another reason. Dechsev, Kilibin Yisrael Avadim. Lavadim, that no one can be a slave permanently to someone else, because we're only slaves to one person, and that is Hashem. Rav Ashi Amar Kshach Latzai Deatchak. He put himself, he only did that for himself and not for anyone else. So we begin the next Mishnah on the bottom of Kufte Zayin Amud Beis. Masikin, excuse me. So stole a field from his friends, and then Masikin, strong-armed people, took the field from him. If this is something that's widespread, meaning They didn't just take his field. These guys have been grabbing everyone's field. So the robber can say back to owner, I'm sorry, but that's your field. I have no rights anymore. They took it, but there's nothing I could do. And Machse Gazlin, but let's say they only took it from this guy, then Chayiv L'Hamla Sadacher, he has to return back a different field to the owner. So let's begin one part of this Gemara. Amar Rav Nachman Rayitzim Andatani Masikin Loy Mishtabish Andatani Masikin Loy Mishtabish. Two different ways to learn in the Mishnah. Mantar Masikin with a Sadi Loy Mishtabish Tersev Matar Matzoik. Mantar Masikin Loy Mishtabish Tersev Yiresh Hatzlot Sal. So says the Gemara, the word is either Matzikin or Masikin. Either way, it means strong arm people that took away the field, and that is the din of the Mishnah. That it depends if they took a dafka from him or they took the fields from everyone, and we'll pick it up from the two dots. B'siyata dishmaya.